Welcome to the next installment of the Dismount Podcast, and today we are discussing episode 49, Wanderer. Am I lost, or was this always the path? So, this podcast, as always, this is, the typical, we don't tell you how to live, we tell you how the hell we've lived, and you take some stuff from it, or you don't. You ride along with us, you find out that you're not alone in this crazy-ass journey that is called life, and this one is all about, was I following a path that was always leading me to some destination, or was I lost as all hell? We got this one from Lord of the Rings. This was the Aragorn story of Aragorn constantly taking all of these side quests that ultimately led him to becoming the king that he was, but he never really wanted to be that king that whole time until it was no. This is who you are destined to be. Everybody's been telling me this the whole way along. So, this podcast, if you're new here, we take 6 questions. We throw them out there to each other. Each of us takes a while to journal on them. When we come together, we talk about those answers to those 6 questions. All of that journaling that we did, personal, authentic, vulnerable, deep dive into the minds, the experiences, and the circumstances that we've gone through in our life. So this one, all about wandering. Am I lost, or was this always the path? Let's throw out that outline for you. Question number 1. Have you ever felt lost in your life? And looking back now, do you think you actually were? Or was that just a part of your unique path unfolding? Number 2. What's one detour or side quest you didn't plan for that ended up being crucial to your personal growth? Number 3, my lord. Threw off the 2.
Number 3, my lord.
Number 3, my lord.
Number 3, how do you personally define the difference between wandering and being directionless? Can the two ever overlap in a healthy way? In moments where the path wasn't clear, number 4, what kept you moving forward? Faith, curiosity, desperation, intuition, or something else? Number 5, do you think you have a destiny like Aragorn? Or do you create your own meaning through the choices you make while wandering? And number 6, looking at your current self, what parts of your journey, especially the unexpected ones, do you now see as essential to who you are today? So we're ripping right into number 1. Have you ever felt lost in your life, and looking back now, do you think you actually were? Or was that all part of your unique path unfolding to this point? So we're all in our early 30s now, and we've experienced some crazy stuff. One would say that you're a third of the way through your life. One would say you haven't even yet started if you're in your early 30s because, let's face it, going into your 20s, life's pretty crazy. Well, a lot of things that we wish from other episodes that we've talked about that we wish were taught to us through our late teens and early 20s were stuff that we kind of had to discover on our own or be lucky enough to have amazing parents or friends or elders or even mentors that we got to experience that gave us those insights that school really did not. Coming into the late 20s is when a lot of us have, finally hit that stride of like, whoa, what the is going on now? I'm about to take the driver's seat because it feels like someone else has been in the front and this is an Uber I am not giving 5 stars to.
Sir, this is not my Uber.
Sir, this is not your ride. And then, now going into our 30s, Brandon is making a massive transition in his life right now, having a little one. Me and Numbnuts over here.
I was about to say numbnuts. I knew it was coming.
We're on a whole different path right now, and that there's nothing wrong with where or what direction or what path you might be on or what avenue you're taking towards, because all of us are on a different journey. And it's your journey to feel pride and gratitude and not feel shame or that you're directionless or that looking back and going, what the hell was I spending my time on? So for me, this first question, oh, hell to the yes, have I felt lost in my life? For sure. And you know what? some days, even though now I feel like I have really great vision, really great goals that I'm working on, and some damn good consistency that I've been building, I still feel lost many, many days. And I sit there and question, am I doing too much? Am I trying to strive for something too hard? Am I pushing too hard? Am I finding that fine, detailed line between, you're being a little excessive versus you're missing out on opportunities that you could have taken more time towards? Oh, yes, without a doubt. And I'm still discovering that beautiful balance beam that is life. But I think that's what's beautiful about it, is that if you are taking the time to take a little bit of consideration into what you're doing, then are you really absolutely lost? I don't think so. And I think that's what has been for me, is taking that time to like look and have that gratitude and go, dude, you've been fighting this way too much. And then you take like a minute, and I said it on the storytelling episode 43, like at the end of that. That was like a gratitude on 1,000 for me week when we were leading up into that episode. And just sitting back and taking like the time to like think about the story that has been my life. And I know Dee said it in that episode too, and Brandon as well. Like, yo, my life is kind of sick. Like and you especially said it, like your words in that episode were, dude, if I were to just wipe my name off of this resume at the top, and it was just all these accolades that, I'm looking at this list and going, yo, this is sick. Like if I was 13 years old and I looked at this and was like, yo, I'm going to be 30 and this is the things that I accomplished. Yo, give me that. But you put, Derek at the top of it, and it's like,
Ooh.
woo, no. This is bullshit. This is all garbage. So for me, like, I definitely feel that things I've experienced have been leading me down this path where I'm at right now. And I have to take that time to just reel myself in, sit back in the fishing boat and go, all right, it doesn't matter if you get a fish today because the sky's beautiful. You're having an amazing time. You're getting a nice tan. You're out with amazing people that you're enjoying the conversations that you're having and the experiences. So why am I stressed when I can just hit, Mitchell's Fish Market on the way home and make sure that I bring home some bounty,
Hey, Haas, I caught something.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, Brandon, have you felt lost in life?
I would definitely say this might even be something we've mentioned before, but 18, 19 years old, I definitely felt lost. Like, I know I'd be comparing myself to people like Derek. You're at college. I was at CCAC, had a semester where I took off and tried to go get hired in banking, go get hired as an apprentice electrician, and it didn't work out. And, I already had fallen in love with psychology, and I've been in love with storytelling. But at the same time, 18, 19 years old, you get the messages like, go get a job, get paid, come on, it'll be a good time. Come out to LA.
Hey.
No. But yeah, like join the real world. And then it's like all these people who put out the message of like the real world don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like the real world is always all around you. It's really everybody's own journey, and people that are older, and I'm sure we may have each been guilty of this, like telling somebody who's like 15 or whatever, be like, oh man, you don't know what it's like yet, blah, blah, blah. But like, really, I think one of the times you get lost is whenever you start listening too much to other people and stop listening to like your inner voice. And you're like, I think we've talked about like the light inside of us, and that sometimes you put like a lampshade over it, and then it feels like you're just trying to fight to get that light back out, but you also got to make money to live. And then like for me, 18, 19 years old, I had an idea of what path I want to take, but like there's so much potential, so much opportunity, and so much out there that you're like, it's almost electric with no ground. It's like it wants to run, but it's like, where do I go? I don't know how to move. So I definitely felt lost from like 18, 19 years old, in the sense I got into a codependent relationship. And then after that, once that ended, I was like, where do I go now? And I was like, time to resume your life. Like, thankfully, that ended, so then you could like actually get your ambition back and stop being comfortable. So, at that point in time, I made it my mission. I was like, okay, I want to go back to the school that I tried to get into the first time around. Got into the school, got my psychology degree, and then through my first internship, they were like, so what do you want to do after this? I was like, I don't know. This was the goal. Like,
I'm doing it.
yeah, like my whole thing was I wanted to, get my degree and then, one day start a family. But at the age I was at, I think I was like 22, 23, something like that. And I was like, I don't know. Now I just like, I guess the goal is just get a job. And he was like, okay, well, think about it. What kind of job do you want? I was like, psychologist. They're like, okay, psychologists or what kind? And I was like, oh, the kind that sits down, talks with people. And so they're like, okay, you want to be a counselor? Yeah, like that. They're like, okay, have you looked at accredited university? I was like, what does accredited mean? It's a crime that you can go through these programs and they're not accredited. And then things like counseling that you need to be accredited in order to be recognized as legitimate. And I'm like, so at that point in time, 18 and 19, I was lost. By the age 23, I was less lost. And then I went in to do counseling. And the whole time I was like, I need this for me. Like, fuck what everybody else says. I need to have my education in psychology and counseling for me. And if I choose to do anything with storytelling, I will have all that knowledge that will serve me for the rest of my life in whatever I do. The job I do, I'm not going to share with everybody. They can put pieces together if they want. Watch the rest of our episodes. And our shorts. But if you want to put the pieces together, you can figure out what I do for a living. But I use it all the time. In every single job, I use psychology. In every single job, I find ways to plug it in and know how to understand people. And to be honest, none of us really fully understand people. But for me, part of becoming unlost and wandering down the right paths is meeting the people, working the jobs I'm in, and just trying to constantly learn. So I was lost at 18, 19. Now I'm less lost.
That's awesome, dude.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's tough to take that time when you're young to actually like take any type of consideration for what you've experienced. So going through psychology and then being able to like deal with people, that's all every single job has been, dude. Like I think of the fact that is totally it's ingrained into everything. Dealing with people, communicating with people, trying to understand why people act the way that they do. It's huge.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I guess like I wrote down when thinking through some stuff here, the idea of being lost to me is more or less like not a dramatic breakdown. Like it's not one event. It's probably repetition in a bunch of different things that maybe do not even align with you or the version of you want to be. Like Groundhog Day, the movie, where you keep reliving the same day over and over again. And this one is a nightmare, and and even when you acknowledge it and you're still trying to get it right, you may not step in that puddle. The guy standing right there, like, oh, watch out for the first step. It's a doozy. You're like, just shut up, dude. Okay, like, I got it. I know that I need to do something different than what I've done before. I'm not going to keep stepping in the same puddle, but like the loss situation for me falls into exactly that. Is like, I know what I'm doing on a daily basis or whatever my moral compass is, or the things that like physical fitness, like, oh, I really want to be like dedicated to like my fitness every day. And then it's like, okay, 2 days in a row. And then I fall off. And like little things like that kind of start to pile up where it's like lost for me isn't like it's kind of like an imbalance. It's not like a state of being. It's just that deep down, you probably know in your gut what you should be doing or what you want to do or how you can better align yourself with the truest, purest version of yourself, but you're still, for some reason, like not connecting the dots. And then on top of that, I think the outside pressures that Brandon brought up were something that hit true to me, which exactly that. Like when I was 18, like I just like was given the keys to the most widely acceptable idea of what success looked like to like my parents, which is, okay, well, next for you is you go to college. And, you know, that's what successful people do. They go to college, they get a job, and they fucking hate their lives. And that's it. Join along. Just get in line. You know,
Pay
like
back school.
part of your wonder is like, yeah, part of your wonder is just like, shit, did you just want me to be miserable because you are like, or did you like actually care about like what I want to do next? And you just weren't ever given that opportunity. So I don't get that shot either. Because like looking back, like even like any job I've had since I left college, I could have done without a college degree. I worked in sales every job. So, and you know, that's not less like I don't enjoy my job or don't think it's a good fit for me. Like Brandon said, like I'm able to carry attributes from like, you know, my life, my education in certain instances to be successful in my job. So it's not all for loss, but the idea of me having to decide the next 40 years of my life at 18 is crazy. I don't even think I'm responsible enough to decide that right now because I don't know what I want to do the rest of my life, you know? So I sure as hell shouldn't have been put to decide that when I was 18. So, and another thing outside of like that is, I think on the feeling lost situation, is it's hard to, for me, like discern, you know, am I someone who's strong? Am I a weak person who just doesn't know how to like share like my vulnerabilities, my failures, whatever it might be? Because like I look at like my older brother or my even my younger brother, my older siblings too. Like my younger brother, like you mentioned in a previous episode, Brandon, you're always playing that game as like he's always ahead of me. So my brother always thinks like, oh, Derek always got to figure it out. It's like, no, I had a 3-year head start over you. And then like my older siblings, brother and sister, like, oh man, like if we could just have kids, you know, if we had them, we would just want to be just like you or whatever it might be. And it's like, I've always had that on me because I did well in high school. I played sports, went to college, got a job, and like that's all great. But it's like it's a lot of weight for somebody to carry when it's, you know, well, do you think I actually enjoy doing all this? Like, have you ever asked if like this is what I actually want to do, and to have to like continue to pull yourself up and just like, well, I'm a rock for those people. It does make it tough because like you can be able to find empowerment in those situations, but also like it lacks the vulnerability that like you can't feel like, well, if I don't show up for those people, then like they're losing a source of strength in their life too. So I do feel like the situations in which I felt lost though, they've ended like pretty abruptly. And at that low point, I've always had a new opportunity arise every single time where it feels like, oh shit, like, oh, I just got fired from this job, or this job wasn't what I thought it would be, or this relationship wasn't what I thought it'd be. I have no clue how my life will change for the better moving forward. Like, where am I supposed to go now? And then that door always opened for me. So, like with the loss situation, I feel like it is like it's a imbalance, it's a disalliance with yourself. Like, in the understanding is that, you know, if you just can have like the moral compass, that idea of who you want to be, you don't really need a direction. You can kind of just like, okay, these are things that hold true to me. I'm just kind of going to play it by ear and see where it takes me. And, you know, if you feel really lost, like what would you do on a road trip? Like you don't have a GPS. It's like, okay, what am I going to do if I feel lost? Well, first of all, I should stop, because if I keep driving further out of the direction I'm going, like I'm only going to be more lost. And then you either like check out a map or like you ask questions from someone who knows better than you. So I think like for me, the side of like, you know, trying to understand how to be more vulnerable or open with family to show that like, hey, I'm just a human being too, to put a little less pressure on me, or understanding that everyone feels lost in their life. And that's not a bad thing, I don't think. It's just an understanding that you can now take time to realign. You know who you are deep down inside. Our guts are really good about telling us where we should be or what we need to do. It's just about stopping and actually listening to that instead of getting caught in the mess.
Yeah, I think of like the going to school and whatnot, and sitting here and being like, oh man, I got, you know, all this student loan debt that I'm trying to pay off. And that frustrates me so much because, you know, it feels crooked and whatnot. And I remember, you know, being 27 and being, you know, right around like 26, 27, being like 280 pounds and just depressed as all get out, you know, drinking, doing other stuff that just was not necessary, like, and the capacity that I was doing it. Let's put it that way. It's okay to do that stuff and have fun and enjoy yourself and let loose. It's another thing to be making it a part of like your personality. Mm-hmm. And I look back and like I had a little bit of resentment to my parents for kind of pushing me towards going to school and whatnot. And it's like my mom, we had this kick-ass conversation. I had a long conversation with my dad last year, like real deep conversation, like almost 4 or 5 hours we sat on his back porch and talked. And just, having a deep conversation with my mom about going to school for engineering and that. She's like, Zachary, you always wanted to be an engineer. Like, look back, think about, junior year of high school when you went to like that engineering career fair and like you went down to a conference that you guys got to go down to, which we got to go down to the AIST like conference in junior year when it was in Pittsburgh. And like, then I ended up becoming like someone who worked in the steel industry, like through refractory, and going to that same conference like at 27 or 24, 25 and 27 and just being like, yo, I was here when I was 17. Like, this is where I wanted to be. But then feeling like all the work that I was doing just wasn't overly respected or appreciated, and being like, man, I'm just not creating. Like, I feel depressed. I feel lost. Like, this sucks. And then starting to have resentment because I felt like that wasn't the path that I wanted to take, when it was always the path that I wanted to take. But I allowed those jobs to break me down into feeling like that vision of myself where it was just sitting at my desk, being a PE, a professional engineer, sitting in his boxers and just like stamping drawings and just making like over six figures and being like, yeah, this is what I wanted. That's exactly what I want to become. And then going to my first job and going, this is how the owner, like, you got to be invested. Like, you got to be there all the time and do all this shit. And just thinking like, I want balance. Like, I want freedom and to do all that type of stuff. And then having those conversations with my parents of just like, my mom being like, look, Zach, like, I just wanted you to have that safety net. Like, you always wanted to be that. And whatever you decided to create out of that was your own thing. But like, I look at people nowadays and posting on LinkedIn or social media that I've applied to 700 jobs and still haven't gotten an opportunity. And you're like, whoa, shit. Like,
You got a typo on that resume, dog?
yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I look back and I think like I got a job because of my, schooling. And then I got, an opportunity, and then I took that opportunity and I flourished it into making a shit ton of money in project management for companies, and then was able to keep leveraging that all the way up to where like that safety net has afforded me the opportunity to be able to like buy all kinds of shit that I want for like outdoor shit, like upgrade to another car that was able to haul my camping trailer and like experience all these different things. And yeah, I might not be the guy who has a massive savings and a badass freaking investment portfolio and like financially free right now, but I'm on that path and I'm 33. So like, my dad and I were talking last year and he goes, Zach, at 27 years old, you were making more money than I've made when I was like 50. Like, okay, I had to work 2 jobs to make more money than you were making at 1 job. Like, you're a success in my eyes. Like, and that just was like, that's what floored me, dude. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I've been on a path and it was a good one. And it like so much gratitude, strengthened that relationship with my parents. And that was the thing of like, what's one detour or side quest you didn't plan for that ended up being crucial to your growth? And mine was thinking that, honestly, being in that victim mentality, thinking that the world was against me and that everything was out to get my ass, and that, oh, this just isn't going my way because the world doesn't want it to go my way. Versus like, what are you doing that you might not be the person who's ready to step into that role? Or do you really want all that smoke, man? Like, do you want all that smoke and fire that's going to come from, stoking that bonfire? I mean, are you ready to step into the heat? Like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, my boy. And so that's where like, I definitely have done some things that, for instance, like I was streaming. I started live streaming, playing video games and riding a bike. And I'm sitting there thinking like, dog, I'm riding a bike 20 miles an hour. I'm posting all these clips. Why aren't they going anywhere? Why is the universe keep removing my audio when I didn't put even a song on there for it to copyright me? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And that's where it was just like reiterating those things. But was I initially posting those things and then looking for that opportunity for, life to fuck me over that way? Quite possibly. So would I have posted it without those expectations of thinking that things were going to work against me? Would things have been differently? Quite possibly. So for you, Brando, side quest or detour that you've experienced?
I would say the side quest, this might be insulting to some. My side quest was grad school. Like from what we were mentioning earlier, I didn't plan on it. Like I didn't plan on going to grad school. And at the time, there's this fallacy going around. Don't go to school for psychology because there's no jobs in psychology in Pennsylvania. Wrong. There's no jobs that are going to pay you a lot of money for having your bachelor's in psychology is the correct statement. There are plenty of jobs that you can get coming out with a psychology degree as a bachelor's. As far as well-paying ones, the people are severely underpaid. That's just truth of the matter, and a lot of it comes to probably public funding. But for me, I understood if I wanted to make X amount of dollars, I would need to go to grad school. So after I had already got to the end of the line and that internship, they say, well, if you want to make more money, they didn't say it directly, as between the lines, and if you want to become like a psychologist or a counselor, you got to go to grad school. So I went to grad school, and it was a phenomenal opportunity. There is one gripe I had with it. You get force-fed some information that are part of some belief systems that you may not be like, looking back. All right, I'll be completely transparent because we're being vulnerable. They put a lot of really heavy victimizing type of belief system into you, but it's necessary to understand all that. To be a counselor, you have to know and understand that delivery could have been better. We won't get into a very political side of things, but the delivery could have been a lot better as far as belief systems, and we might get some hate during this part of the episode. But for me, that's necessary to mention because it was part of my filtration system. Like I don't go too far left. I don't go too far right. I find myself at a happy medium in between. And I'm a cherry picker as far as what I choose to believe in. But in here, that kind of was a side quest because it's not what I ended up doing. Once I got into the field, I was like, this isn't what I want to keep doing. And I got so much respect for your mom and people who are in helping fields that continue to do it because, honestly, it's exhausting. Those people deserve so much more recognition than they get. And even like psychologists in general, psychiatrists, social work, every one of those fields deserves more credit. So for me, it was an expensive lesson to learn that that's not what I wanted to do for life. But I'll be damned, I'd go do it again. Like, I learned so much stuff from that. We used to make the joke in Foundations of Adulthood saying we're learning how to be adults, but honestly, that's exactly what we were doing. Like, you learn how people think, developmental lenses. Like, whenever I talk with people, I can't help it. It's like a background set of gears are just like turning. When people say certain things, my brain goes, oh, this is likely part of their experiences that they've experienced and led them to who they are. And it's just off of certain statements. So that to me was a side quest. But like, if I had to restart the game, I'd do that side quest all over again because there's so much value that I got out of those experiences.
You got a shit ton of personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude.
But
well, that's what you need
mm-hmm.
from it being a beneficial side quest.
Yeah. And side quests sometimes are some of the most exciting. Be honest, Assassin's Creed, we talked about it on the episodes. One of the side quests was I got to kill a Cyclops. Fucking awesome. But yeah, so my side quest was grad school. But how about you guys?
For me, it was probably the 2 jobs I had after I got fired from my first one, which like gave me every bit of information I needed to realize like I need to start doing things for myself, not because I feel like this is the right thing to do or just doing it for a paycheck. When I started at Enterprise, like what a horrible job that was. So I'll just say it. Anyone who works for Enterprise, I respect the shit out of you, but just like my manager quit pretty quickly, got a new manager, washing cars because we didn't have car preps, and a shirt and tie. It's 95 degrees, and I'm trying to sell people insurance, but you have car insurance. Why do you need our insurance? Doesn't make any sense. And then you got to go pick up the customer, and then you got to work long hours, and then you get Lyme disease and have to wash all the cars again, and blah, 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 blah. And it just sucks. And then I moved into oil and gas where I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to make more money, be better respected. And all that turned into was I made about like less than 30 grand a year for the couple years I was there. Never made commission like I was promised. It wasn't respected. When I did have success at my job, it entailed buying or convincing landowners to sell me their oil rights that were in their family for generations and screw them out of what could be millions of dollars. Like all of that felt so slimy. And, you know, maybe I was getting rich, I'd feel a little better about it, but like probably not really. But the thought process there is just like, you're doing all this shit and it doesn't align with you at all. You're not even respected in what you're doing. Like neither place felt like I had their respect or they had mine in any instance. And, you know, it's tough because again, feeling like you're lost, like that was definitely a moment where when I was in oil and gas, I was like the heaviest I've ever been, drinking the most I've ever been, in a shitty relationship, just a lot of really tough, you know, things happening. And you have to realize, all right, why is this occurring? And then I get an opportunity to move into working in the industry I work into now. And it makes it so much more enjoyable, refreshing, beneficial. And you're just able to appreciate it so much more to like, hey, look, I might not be making as much money as I could somewhere else, but at least I like am passionate about what I'm doing, see the difference in what, you know, this makes for other people. And it's just something that I align with. It's something that child me would have enjoyed. It's something that I know I could do for years and still find enjoyment in doing it in the right instances. But it was just really tough to go through those couple of jobs and see the benefit of them when there was really no surface level benefit. But then as I grow older, realizing like, okay, at least you know what you want out of yourself in a career type instance in the future, and understanding that as long as you have the right intentions behind what you're doing, it shouldn't just be for like a paycheck or something like that. Like if this aligns with who I am, then everything else is going to fall into place. And it always does. Even like those instances where I lost a job and like I had to go get a new gig. It still wasn't the best gig, but it fell into place. And then I got an opportunity to move somewhere else and I got some cool freedom through that job. And the job sucked, but got to drive a 2000 Tahoe around the woods of West Virginia with my buddy John. Like it's a great time. So there's fun memories, but to think of like how I may have learned from those past detours or whatever it might be is so beneficial to me moving forward. Because even like leaning with like the podcast, it's like, I just love it because it's like it's what I get to do. It's where I have control, and I don't have to answer to someone who might not respect me. I get to do it with two of my best friends in the world, and the best part of it is like it's something that we created on our own, you know, and those things hold true to me and my values. So that's something that I learned through a really tough period of my life.
Yeah, it can be so frustrating going through that and sitting there that whole time and going, what the fuck is this all for?
What am I supposed to be learning right now? What are you trying to teach me? This is horrible. I can't afford a Bocelli pizza special in Johnstown. I'm trying to freaking buy some guy's oil rights. I had to call my dad to mobile order me a freaking pizza. Like, there's nothing that I can see being worth this for. And then you take a couple years and step back and you get other opportunities like, it's so that I could appreciate the opportunities I'm actually going to get moving forward. And without it, then all I would know is that. And like, I mean, fuck, ADP, if I hadn't gotten fired, I would probably still work there. Everyone I know, like for the most part, either works or works adjacently to that company for the most part. And it pays well. They get to go on vacation. Everything's cool. And I respect those people. I'm glad they still got good gigs. But for me, like there was a reason why that didn't work out. And I just couldn't see it at that point. So trying to carry that energy moving forward and understanding that like while I'm in the shit, there's a reason for it is really beneficial.
Yeah, it's hard to be walking through the the pig stalls and go, I'm heading out to the pasture. I'm making my way out to the pasture, but I got to go through these pig stalls and all this shit right now to get there.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I mean, I would say, how do you personally define the difference between wandering and being directionless then?
Yeah, I mean, so wandering, I think feels like it's more like allowing the universe to come to you. Like that's the healthy outlook, like staying true to yourself and your value and your passion. And just like I just mentioned, like letting those things fall into who you are. So, getting the chance to like, maybe not set expectations, but like it's like going on like a good vacation, right? It's like, I went on vacation recently. The worst thing you can do on vacation is overplan the vacation. Like okay, like at 3 o'clock we're to go here, then 4 o'clock is this, and you're like, dude, you might as well just slap this bitch on my Outlook calendar, like you might as well just put it right on my Outlook, because that's what this feels like. So I feel like the wandering can be intentional, but like with the wandering can be intentional, but like with the right framework, I guess. Like I know who I am in my truest form. I know the things that are important to me. I might not need an exact destination, but I do feel like I'm just feeling out things, and just as long as I'm just kind of being Derek, then Derek things are going to happen. And I like that about Derek, and that's perfectly fine. So on the other side, like directionist, like it feels like there's no purpose, like you're low on yourself. You have that victim mentality you're talking about. And like, I feel like wandering has like curiosity built into it. Like, oh, like, what if I do this? Like, oh, that didn't work. Fuck me. Okay. What if I do that? And like, that kind of helps in the sense of like, directionless is like, I'm not curious, dude. I just know this is not working and I'm getting bummed out. I don't even have the energy to be curious about this. So, loss might, have something to do with like even defeat too. Like, you kind of feel like you're just in this area of like, I've tried everything. I don't know where else I could possibly go. What now? And the what now kind of just turns into like a rhetorical question, because you're pretty much exhausted at that point from even wondering, what could be next.
Yeah, the only way that I thought that the two overlapped was when you allow directionless to be a wandering atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
So you're wandering without the direct, like without moving towards a specific location or like a time frame that you have to accomplish this by. That was the only way that I could see them overlapping, because I had the same thoughts as you. Directionless is I'm not in tune with myself. I'm allowing others to, drive the car. I'm allowing others to manipulate my mindset, manipulate my thoughts about myself, and I'm lost in the sauce, is the only way that I can describe it, without, just putting an overarching circle to it. I'm lost in the sauce. And what is going on? I have no clue. Everything is not awesome. It is not the Lego movie. It is just miserable. You look and you find yourself, and I feel like it's kind of like, especially for the two of us from what we've said here today, it leads you down to that same location of like, why am I this heavy?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I this depressed? What the fudge? Like, what did I do to myself? And now you start going, all right, I'm not going to absolutely shame myself, because if I shame myself, then I'm just going to eat another Fiore's pizza completely to myself. And it's just going to be that kind of evening, which still love you, baby. But, it's definitely, all right, I'm going to start wandering down a different path that I choose to start heading towards. And I'm not going to allow myself to be completely directionless, but I'm not going to put so much emphasis on it to where I have to be here at this specific time. Like, you said about planning out a trip, like we were just talking about fantasy worlds on the last episode, and we brought up Super Mario, like N64. And like, okay, why have I never just jumped through the painting and just wandered around to find what all is out there in this one?
Just had to get somewhere,
Had to get to that star, had to move on to the next one, had to check that off the box, get it off the list, and we're on to the next thing.
And now you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like, and I feel like directionless, if you surrender to it, then you're in a bad place. But I feel like you can also like wander through directionless. It's like a mindset thing for me. I think that might be the difference between the two, is that it just depends on the mindset you find. Like, again, every time I felt like I've hit a true wall in my life, and like something, earth shattering, quote unquote, may have happened, a big change in my life. In that, like, what now situation could be detrimental or could be liberating. Like, there was a sense of freedom for that for me, which was really nice, of like, okay, like this could be the worst thing that happens to me, or this could be the best thing that happens to me. And I have the power to decide that, but it doesn't feel like that all the time.
Yeah, I totally feel that. For yourself, Brando, wandering, directionless.
I would say mine, it's kind of falling along similar lines of, today we've talked a lot about vision. And I think vision and purpose are really important. And to me, the wanderer is somebody who they do have vision and purpose. And perhaps, like we have in the thumbnail, maybe those people who are there, I believe that's Ryan and
That's
you.
me. Yeah.
You know, right down there, you guys, you're wandering down the path. You generally know where you're going. You have an end goal in sight. You have a plan of what time you generally want to end. So you guys aren't like directionless in this. You're just wandering the path, and you might see, oh, that's a cool rock. I think I'll skip it. But like for me in life, it's just I have an idea of where I want to go and the things that I want to do. And I personally have a vision for growth, and I want to grow. And sometimes the objectives change. Like for me in the current job, I've had it since 2021. I left one job and then went and worked another job, worked another one and transferred another location of their company, went to do another job, and then came back. So between 2021 and 2025, there's been a lot of change. And for all of those things, it's all been towards the goal of, okay, I want to be able to buy a house, make enough money to where I can pay my bills, pay my loans, own my car, and be working on buying a house and find my other person. So I've done all those things, and then I'm one step further. We have a child on the way. So November, all those objectives, they've been kind of loose-ended, but like the overall arching goal is still there. So like for me, Wanderer is almost interchangeable with Tinkerer. Like I want to find out how things work, what makes them tick, what kind of things I need to change. And even in like counseling and psychology, I was still wondering, like right now I'm wondering, do I want to do writing? Like later do I want that to be a thing that I want to pursue? And it's, for me, it's kind of the same thing. The objective could change, but the goal still hasn't. The goal for me is to always be improving. It's part of my mission statement, which I should have memorized, but it's been a while since I looked at it. But my goal is generally to help others and to do that with willing others, because one of my number ones is autonomy. Everyone has the right to fuck up their own life. So like, if that's what they want, that's what they want. You could certainly help people. But my goal has always been myself to grow and to help others grow. So as much as I could wander, I'm still on a path, and that path could change, but I still have an end goal. The end goal is just continue to grow. And I have a part in here. It's kind of funny. It's like, well, you're always in a pursuit. Is that wanderer, or is that the fool being addicted to stress, like we've talked about before?
Oh, shit.
And it's like, I'm going to choose the optimistic side. I'm going to say that it's the wanderer. But
Yeah.
I like the wanderer as the tinkerer, though.
Mhm.
Like you're just kind of, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna do this. Okay, why not? I like that, the tinkering setup. I would say, we hit it pretty solid. The wanderer for me was, the person who I like that the purpose and vision was definitely things that were kind of along the things that I was thinking about. But, that alone in itself just gives you the opportunity to keep exploring, keep going deeper, not sit there and go, well, fuck this shit. I've given up. And I think that's the one, like, that's the ultimate directionlessness. Directionlessness? Is that that might be a
I think you're
Oh.
word.
good there.
Erectionlessness?
Try Cialis.
I think that's the person who is just like, I've given up all hope. There's no reason to keep going. I'm just going to throw in the towel, and it is not worth going after my dreams anymore. It's not worth, it's not worth another day of trying to do things that just feel like they're not right. But then that comes back to the mindset, as if you keep waking up tomorrow and going, all right, I might not even make 3 steps forward, but I'm still going to, at the end of the day, go, I gave it, what I needed to today to make it through. So tomorrow, if I have more energy, I'm going to wander a little bit farther. But I know the path that I can take on a daily basis. I know what I can accomplish. I know what I can get done in my 24 hours that I have. How do I get to a place tomorrow where I can chunk a little bit more of that time into the favor of my wandering towards, my dreams or my purpose?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Number 4. In moments where the path wasn't clear, what kept you moving forward? Faith, curiosity, desperation, intuition, or something else? I want to take this one first because mine was love. Love is what has kept me moving forward. Love for myself, love for life, and most of all, I have, sat there and just felt, I don't want to go dark, but we've definitely, I shouldn't say we, I definitely have been to a place before where I was like, and we've joked about it before. Man, it would be much easier just to kill yourself right now and get out of the car. Why not just run the car into off the bridge right now? It's a lot easier than having to go through all this bullshit again. And I'm trying to make that laughable and jokeable because it's not. It's a very serious thing to even contemplate. Yeah, but what would it be like if I wasn't here anymore? And that's where the love for the people in my life, the love for my family, the love for friends, and just no parent should ever have to bury their kid. It should be the opposite way around. And that isn't oh, well, that's the only reason why I kept going. No, I'm just sitting here saying that there have definitely been dark times before. Like I talked about being 280 pounds and depressed as all get out. Well, sometimes you sit there and go, well, shit, it's going to be so much damn work to get back to the other side of the aisle. Oh, do I really want to do that work? No, you candy ass. Get the fuck up and get after it. There's no reason to check out. This ain't a hotel stay. This is your life. You get that one opportunity. There is no reason to ever think about checking out. But you go through life, and the thing is I wasn't someone who never experienced suicide in my life. I was someone who has experienced some crazy amount of suicide before being 20 years old. And stories from my township that I grew up in where people can look it up. They know where I lived. I don't want to share any stuff of that, but we had some crazy ones from kids that were in my grade who I saw literally, days or weeks before they did it. And the way that they did it was just, ridiculous fashion. And I say that with respect. But yeah, just when you already experienced that at a young age, it's hard to not have that be something where you're like, well, I've experienced this. So is it that ridiculous of a thought to have inside your head? And that's where I go back and I go, man, I'm so grateful that I had so much love and compassion in my life and desire to want to build something for myself that I didn't fall, victim to that mentality or that mindset that people who I cared about did, and then did the ultimate thing that led them to that, outcome. That arguably that hit a lot of people, a lot of people my age, a lot of us were pretty jammed up about that type of stuff and thinking about well, shit, I feel lost and directionless right now. That son of a bitch, they missed 2 questions on the SAT. I was one of the smartest people I know. How, could they, not, if they had that type of mind, then you start questioning it yourself. Am I that smart? What, you start, that's where you got to just shut it down real quick for yourself, lock that away. And for me, that's what I had to do. I had to just be whoa, hold up now. This is a very sensitive topic, Zach, that you're talking about right now. And you got to approach it with compassion. But also, I want people out there to know that they're never alone, because there's always someone who, when you would even contemplate that, if they found out about that, they would already be hurt, thinking that you don't care enough to stay around to be there with them through the rest of life, or through like
Mhm.
till when it's like really something that would take you out, not by your own accord, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So I would say for you boys, Brando, what has been that thing that has kept you locked in?
So, this broad category, faith. It can be good and it can be bad. For me, I would say like the good side of it, you know, a good example is like the podcast. Like it's for people who haven't done it. I think you've said a lot of podcasts end before 2 years is up. So like for us, traction's still growing. It's still getting more. And you don't end up seeing like the end of the line. You have to keep pushing and you have to keep returning, keep coming back, keep the same energy, keep the vitality, and try to keep growing and most importantly have fun while doing it. So while you're doing like, I can't speak on as much editing, I have started to learn some of it, but that I could probably speak for you guys a little bit. That is a grueling process. Like grueling doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of returning, a lot of frustration, and then I'll extend it one further, a lot of aggravation. But for me, a lot of different things, they require a lot of faith, and that might be faith in the people I'm around. So that's definitely for this case, but also like faith in the mission, your overall purpose, even faith in just like humanity. And that one, the longer you're in the working field of jobs, that gets tested more than anything.
Yeah.
I deal with a lot of people all in the same day. And sometimes the ongoing phrase is you're not only like having to consider all the factors of things that can go wrong, but you sometimes have to think for people and anticipate needs. And it drives you crazy sometimes. And you're like, oh my gosh. But like faith for me, it could be faith in humanity, people, the mission, purpose, vision, but it also could be sometimes like blind faith. Like I'll quote something that's not as related, but the experiment must go on. Like sometimes I feel like we all have had jobs where it sucks. The job, the task, it might suck balls, but like you're like, well, there's not really a choice. You just get it done. And then other people beside you, they'll be like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get it done. And it's like, well, I mean, if you just start, like you'd probably be further than you are right now. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Grow up. I don't know. This is just what people do. Jobs suck. And, we make money for other people so we could take home some breadcrumbs. And I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I think for me, it's the positive sides of faith. And sometimes the negative side, which it's not even negative, it just is. Like you just pull up your bootstraps, keep moving forward, and try not to think about it so much. Like, the more you spend ruminating on how much something sucks, that could have been the time that it required to get it done. And then now all of a sudden the Band-Aid's ripped off and you don't got to think about it anymore.
Yeah, we talk about the negative side sometimes being that beautiful motivation that
Mhm.
builds you into like the discipline that you needed. So like that right there for me, like looking at the negatives as positives
Mhm.
and using them to say, nope, I do not want to go down that path
Mhm.
is definitely like something that is huge. And that comes back to the mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Faith was for me too. I mean, I don't want to harp too much on like what I've already touched on, but definitely like loss of jobs. Like, right, 2019, just got over Lyme disease, heavier than I've ever been, drinking more than I've ever been, just lost my job, just moved out of a house I've lived in for 3 years with someone, ended up living on my brother's floor, felt like a sorry sack of shit, and it worked out. Like everything worked out. And again, like that taught me so much in that instance of just trying to blindly believe in what you're doing. And, if I look back for 32 years, like every single time something bad happened, there was a positive almost directly after. And I think just continue to tell yourself that. Like, it does get exhausting. It's incredibly mentally exhausting to try to believe that. Like, God, man, like, why can't it just all be laid out for me? Like, why do I gotta work so damn hard to get all these, accolades or just improvements in my life or whatever it might be? So I think just the ability of like, when that occurred, it was so cool because I got this opportunity to go work in an industry I dreamt about working in, and then 3 months later, live events were shut down for over a year, and I sat at home organizing video game tournaments to keep people engaged and shit like that. So,
Crazy.
but like I had a decision to make at that point too. It was like, I could just sit here and continue to be, sulking in my shit, or I can go and like pick myself up on my bootstraps, have faith that like, hey, there's a reason. Everything else has happened for a reason. And even at that like point of like the low is low, like there is the sense of freedom that like you can't possibly throw anything else at me. Like, look at all this shit you're throwing at me. Like, that's liberating itself too. Like, I'm already at the lowest point I can imagine. Like, what else are you gonna take from me? So having that mindset of like trying to spin any negative that comes your way into a positive, and understanding that it's just part of the journey, that if you are believing in yourself, believe in the universe, like you can find ways to spin any negative in a positive, and then realistically realize that that's just another building block into whoever you are, whatever you're trying to build in your life. So faith was one. I thought about desperation a lot too, because like that's like the survival instinct mentality, but like desperation, I feel like in faith are a tug of war. Like faith is like empowering, and there's like you believe in something to keep going even if you don't see it. And like I feel like desperation can kind of pull you out of the way, like down the wrong path. Like saying I'll do whatever it fucking takes, other than I'll just believe it's gonna work out, I think are two completely different things. So I think moving forward, like the faith aspect definitely stands out. But I have done a lot of things out of desperation too, and for me, they never really seem to pan out the way just believing and seeing something through seems to do.
The desperation. I'll give my left nut to be this right now, you know?
Yeah, you need that nut, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
You make me run faster.
Yeah, well, you'd be all lopsided, you know?
Yeah, but it kind of piggies back into our next question, too, of like, you're going to, you might not have, I don't know how I'll answer the destiny question. I can go either way on it, but like, if you just have that sense of delusion we've talked about, and you have faith that you're just going to end up where you're supposed to be, like I think like there is some type of ability to like have an idea that you are destined to end somewhere, but also not be so focused on it either. Like what is for you will be for you as long as you're aligning with yourself. It's when you start not being yourself, do those detours or those roadblocks or those walls or locked doors come down your way. And I think just staying in tune with yourself as much as possible, doing the things that align with yourself as much as they can, will take you to that destiny. And I do think a lot of stuff is predetermined, or there is a destiny for each of us, but you may not experience it if you don't find a way to access your truest form.
If you asked me 5 or 10 years ago if I had a destiny, it would have been, I didn't believe that I had, a specific destiny. 5 years ago would have been completely effing lost. And 10 years ago, I would have thought that my destiny was all focused on myself and just for me. Versus nowadays, I would say that my destiny, and I can't even sit here and say that that is definitely what I am supposed to become or experience, would be more around being there for others. Not so much of like, I'm going to get all the fulfillment out of what's going to come for me that I'm working towards, but it's ultimately going to be something that is going to be about bringing community together. And that would lead me to say I definitely have a destiny nowadays. But like I said, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, fuck all this shit. And 10 years ago, I'd have been like, it's all about me. I'm going to get this for me, and I'm going to do this for me. And you would have been like, that wasn't who you were when you were 18 years old and you were playing lax and you were trying to be the best version of yourself for the team that you were on. And you wanted that team to become, the best thing that it could become. And that's what, would be my answer to the next question, which I won't get into just yet. But it was for me, it was being a part of teams or being a part of groups and trying to make it the best for everybody, and just feeling like there were people who just wanted the things that came from being on the team, but not the work. They didn't want to put in the effort that it took to make it the best for all of us. And you just started to get beat down by the world of just like, man, all I've ever been trying to do is just be there for like the conglomerate. And the conglomerate just has been spitting in my face for how long? And it's like, I've just dealt with a llama after llama after llama. And like,
A llama?
and it's just like, you get to a place where it beats you down and you think, well, screw it. I'm just going to do this for me. Like, what else is there? I came into this world, you know, alone, arguably, but you have a family, but you came in technically alone. And you're gonna probably leave. Like, no one else is coming with you when you cross over. There's gonna be people there who are going to, you know, miss you when you cross over. But it's not that beautiful experience where you think like, me and my, you know, wife are gonna die at the same exact moment at the same exact time and just like cross over together. You know, so
Yeah.
For
you, Brandon, do you feel like you have a destiny like Aragorn?
Yeah, Trish and I are going to cross over Thelma and Louise style. No, I'm kidding. I would say, I've always subscribed to the idea that we create meaning through our choices and we create our own destiny. As we were going through this, I felt like a little bit of a tug of war. I'm like, you know, as a kid and whatnot, you believe in like fate, destiny, I don't remember the word for like the divine plan or whatnot, but I did believe in destiny and fate and all of those things as a kid. As I got older, then I started believing in you creating your own meaning. But the back of my mind, it just has like that system where I feel drawn towards story and meaning making. So like whenever I did counseling and psychology, I felt like the hack that I had that I don't think anyone else had is everybody has a story. And like, boom, I'm instantly locked in. I'm like, okay, how do I help this person? How can I help serve them so that I could help them pull themselves out of the shit? Or at least get prepared and get some better boots to deal with it. Like, how do I help them? What meaning can I offer so that somebody can improve their lives? And as I continue to say this, I'm like, yeah, it kind of does feel like I am drawn towards meaning making, storytelling, helping people understand their own story or teaching people. It feels like, as much as I like to say like, oh no, I'm choosing my own path, it's like, well, no, it feels like, you know, like the pebble thrown into a river. You could try to change it, but like all you're creating is ripples. That current is still going the same way. And I feel like that's kind of my path is, as we look at that thumbnail, it's kind of all moving forward and it's all going towards the same thing. And even when I try to fight it, like it still draws me towards it. And, you know, whenever I try to avoid or, you know, detour those things, it's still taking me down that direction. And like, for instance, like whenever we were talking about this and you guys were saying like, hey, we're starting a podcast, blah, blah, blah. Like that wasn't something that like as a kid I thought would be a path to achieve those goals. But then like it's part of that river coming downstream of like, hey, you're always headed this direction. It's just like you could fight it or you could grab an oar. What do you want to do? And yes, I feel like for me, destiny is kind of becoming a real thing.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to start a podcast. That was not something that even like when I started like trying to like build out this little media company and stuff, did I ever sit there and say like, I'm going to do a podcast. Like that wasn't the original thoughts. And then you and I started talking about like, you know, what if we just rode around on our bikes with some mics and started interviewing people about like life and stuff and got like had communications with them and like Yeah, but what if we just like sat in a room with another one of our best friends and like started being super vulnerable and called it dismount, and
Yeah.
that we were literally dismounting from the life that we were, felt like we were a little directionless, and gave a little bit more wandering of, okay, now it's time to like, I always thought journaling was pretty lame, but now I'm like, I've been wandering into my own, psyche, and it's like, wow, I'm not as directionless as I really thought. I did have some type of, I made these choices, which I definitely lean a lot to like the side of like thinking that, your choices end up leading you down to those certain paths or that destiny. But at the same token, like, could you have possibly just like said, like, these things are going to happen to me in some way, shape, or form. And if I choose to step through the first painting in Mario, I'm going to get this. If I choose to go through one of the next 5 portals, this is what I'm going to get. And they're going to end up stemming off to each other. That crazy to think that might be the way? Like,
No.
but do you end up ultimately like thinking about like a game like Mario? Do you go down to a different path, but you ultimately, like, for instance, some of the Super Marios, like you could take like 4 different ways, but you still got to the Bowser at the end of like the world that you were in.
Yeah.
It was going to lead you to a specific area. It's just which side quests and which different, detours did you take? Like, okay, you came from the North Hills, I came from the South Hills. We're both trying to get to the same location, but you had 6 detours on your way to get into town today because there's all this construction happening on your side versus, I had nothing. But we still got to the same place.
Yeah. I feel like there's something to be said about free will in that instance too. Like, I do believe like destiny makes a ton of sense when you break it down, but the free will aspect is what keeps you like there's so much self-sabotaging like that I've experienced in my own life and other people I know of. Like, you've been given every opportunity to go down the path that was always made for you, but for some reason or another you can't seem to get out of your own damn way. And I feel like there's always that path, but it's like if you keep fighting the current, then you're never going to get where you're supposed to go. So there's a lot of like the free will, like you have to also like, you may be destined to go somewhere, but you have to understand to like jump on, the right path as quickly as you possibly can. Cause if you keep fighting it, you're never going to end up where you should. And I mean, I feel like that's changed my perspective on karma too. Like karma I used to think was like, if I do something bad, then something bad will happen to me. Simple. But with this in mind, kind of changes it to like, karma is like you have a destiny and you're supposed to go there. And the only thing I can think of worse than like, maybe, trying and failing or whatever it might be is to have all this potential and to never actually realize it. That's horrifying. So like karma alone could just be, hey, if you don't do the things that align with you, then you're never going to find the path that you need to go down. And that's a maybe more expanded version other than bad thing, good thing, or bad thing, or good thing. But it really boils down for me to like, I think we all are destined for a certain path. There's obviously things that align with every person for what they want to do, but it does beg the question, like, can you make the right choices when they align themselves with you? Or can you get out of your own damn way to allow the right things to happen? And a lot of people, unfortunately, have to answer that question and say no.
Do you think there's been things that you've experienced along your way to this point now that have really shaped you, or were things that you needed to, like, our last question was looking at your current self, what parts of your journey, especially the unexpected ones, do you now see as essential to who you are today?
Yeah, they just made me a better person. Like the things like avoiding failure, avoiding pain, avoiding heartbreak, avoiding, feeling low or a piece of like you might as well not even be alive, man. Like honestly, like if you avoid that shit, like that's all part of being a human being. And I have to tell myself a lot of that too, is like those bad feelings suck, but they do shape you into the human you're supposed to be. It's part of the human experience in general. And it does allow you to show appreciation for the positives that continue to show themselves throughout your life. So like the idea of, me being challenged a lot throughout my life, like I could say like, victim mentality, like all these shitty things happen to me and like, here I am still today. And like, that's it's all right. It's an all right perspective. Or I could just go, no, everything that happened to me happened exactly for a reason. And I can actually dictate what reasons they all occurred and what it built me into who I am today. And without those things happening, I wouldn't be this person. So I don't have a single instance because I think I hit enough here on the episode to really just dig into. But every time I have had like those negative instances, especially recently, because there would be a switch to be flipped. Like in the past, it was like, oh, woe is me. What the hell is happening? And nowadays it is all right, like not the way I wanted that to go, but there has to be a reason why that occurred. Now let me sit with it, understand the reason, and then go from there. So instead of feeling directionless, like, all right, man, like all this shit keeps happening. And honestly, like, what's the even point of continuing to go forward? No, it's okay, this happened. Must mean I'm not on the same page as like, the rest of the universe is, or just the plan that's set out for me. So how can I take a step back, figure everything out and then move forward? And maybe it's not even like an answer the next time. Maybe you fail again. But I think those 32 years of bullshit that, a lot of great stuff, but a lot of shitty stuff too. It's a great mix. It's a good buffet style plate of shit and like chocolate cake, just sitting right on the plate. I don't mind when food touches, but the shit and chocolate cake I prefer to separate. Some people have do either of you have the food touching phobia? Like you can't let your food touch on a
Used
plate.
to.
That's the craziest shit I've ever heard, bro. I'm sorry. Like never mind. Sorry. Anyway.
Thanksgiving changed everything.
Yeah. What are you supposed to do, bro? Like you need 6 different plates at Thanksgiving?
I just go back to my favorite Notorious B.I.G. song, which is Notorious Thugs. And he says, been in this game since 92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through.
Yeah. Beautiful. And like, again, like in the second you can flip the switch and realize that every single person experiences pain, bullshit, ups, downs, left, right, all those emotions, like it relieves so much tension. And then understanding that like, if you see people who are successful in an area that you are hoping to find success, chances are they've experienced the same bullshit you've experienced. And the best thing you could do is to choose to learn from them, or at least just give yourself the patience and understanding that, hey, you're doing a good job. You're progressing at your rate. As long as you can hold like tangible ideas to those areas of growth, like, hey, I may have not figured everything out, but I did get that one thing right recently, and just keep that momentum building. That's where I think those downward turns or those areas of maybe not feeling connected with myself have actually in turn helped me into figuring out who I am.
Yeah, mine was like, I love that because all of the things that I wrote down here were basically, I experienced things in 1st grade, 3rd grade, 4th through 7th was made fun of for always being the larger kid, like being called fat, and just all these different things. Like my own buddies in high school, like boycotting me because I made I wanted to be partners with this girl in biology, and then I also wanted to like be really good at lacrosse, so I became a varsity player freshman and started sophomore year. It was like, oh, you must have a big head. And so like all these things were like beating me up, like the world is against me. But I go back to the OG first one, which was 1st grade. And I used to call my mom Dia. And I ended up doing some deep diving with my boy ChatGPT recently. And like, I just was real curious because within the first week of 1st grade, like I was just telling you downstairs before we started this one, like I switched from kindergarten to 1st grade because my parents we moved out of my grandma's house and they got their own place. But literally only like 5 streets over was a different grade school that you went to, because there was freaking 5 grade schools in Bethel Park that I grew up. And so all new friends starting 1st grade. And I walk in the first day and my mom drops me off and I'm like, bye, Dia. And all these kids just start ripping me a new one. Like,
Yikes.
That's your mom. Who's Dia? And it was just like, why do you call her Dia? Are you some kind of loser? And I just remember that. And like within like a week, within like that day, like literally just started calling my mom. But I did a deep dive into Dia. And Dia actually, like in old Latin and whatnot, meant goddess or divine feminine. And then like I started going like, all right, so like what does this mean in like galactic, speak, like all the different races that are out there? Found out it means nurturing, divine feminine, motherly figure, source energy, like connection back to source. So like my mom's the one who birthed me into this world. So I was literally turning around and just like saying, thank you, Dia, basically. Thank you, source, for giving me this opportunity. Like, thank you, like divine feminine, for like bringing me into this world. And it was just such an homage to like what life is, of like the divine feminine versus the divine masculine, and being able to have both those energies in yourself and like respect the other one, being a male and being more divine masculine versus divine feminine, and just like being able to cultivate both those in yourself. And it was just like, I just go back to like, that was the OG, like this world just shitting on me. And it was just like first grade, like just rip a kid a new one because like he knew shit long before you did, and like fudge, dog, you know.
Yeah.
So like for you, Brandon, like what things might have you experienced that today now like they built you to who you are?
I would say like definitely my education. That's a huge one. My parents, that equally, like my parents are my biggest source of education, and my models, my brothers, friends, jobs. And like sports were huge. We had an entire episode just on sports. Like all of those things, they push me to not just become the person I want to be, but also like to continue to push to be the person that I want to keep growing as. And I'd see like losses of like relationships that like push me to start to aim towards the things that I want and learn what I don't want. Same with jobs. I think we've all talked about it like separately outside of here, and Derek mentioned earlier, but I was even like let go from a job. Like, and I don't know if you guys, I know we talked about it on a previous episode, but I felt powerless and that I had no control. I did everything I was supposed to do, was promised the job, and then they backed out. So then I came into a weird circumstance of, do I ruffle feathers or I sit here and be a good boy? And unfortunately, like there wasn't too much like that I felt comfortable doing. Like, what do? Do you go and like sue the school that you're attending and then like destroy the relationships you're with? Do you leave out of principle, which part of me really wanted to do because I'm a principle-centered man? So I was like, you should leave. Fuck the retention rate. Get them. And I was like, yeah, but like, what does any of that accomplish? It doesn't get you where you want to be. If anything, it just makes your journey longer, and it's going to take you longer to get to where you want to go. So like that also had a big influence on me and just trying to see the shitstorm coming, or that shit lick cake that you started to describe. So like for all of the things that have happened to me, good and bad, all of those things have contributed to my journey becoming who I am. And like, honestly, the job that I was in, like, it wasn't going to be paying shit. It was just paying for my tuition. That's all I was paying for, which if you stack up is criminal, because you could do the same job over at Pitt as where I went. And Pitt, that's like probably like now like a $50,000 tuition, something like that. I don't know. We'll just call it 30 as a low ball. $30,000 tuition versus like at the time like 6,000. We're doing the same fucking job.
Yeah.
But I'm getting paid like, I don't know, 6,000. We'll just call it 10%. It's not 10%, but
Yeah.
you're getting paid a significant amount less money. But all of these things, loss of job, loss of relationship, they ultimately have been steering me to understanding what I want. So even in mistakes, even when things went well, all of the collection of things have either showed me what to do, what not to do. And like Stephen King said in his on writing, he said, in order to become a good writer, you have to read all of the good and all of the bad writing that you can. So I take the same in life, you know, get all the good, get all the bad material into you so you can decide which is which.
Yeah, I didn't even bring it up, and that's my ride out, comment was my ride out comment in terms of, wonder, am I lost or was this always the path? What is, you can be doing everything right. nothing out of whack and be, you know, the perfect employee, be the perfect person who's like bringing money into the company that you work for. You can be the perfect student, and like even your teacher just being like, well, this freaking smarty pants is annoying as hell because they always got the answer to everything. Like you could be doing everything that you think is right and arguably is probably right, or is not. Like you're testing other people's level of their own, you know, moral compasses and ethics, and their own, like when they look in the mirror, what do they, you know, what are those challenges that they're dealing with? You could be doing everything right and just get face planted by life. Just absolutely blasted by life. Because I didn't even, you know, think of like my biggest detour was getting fired from a job. I had never been fired from a job before. I was making hand over foot cash for that company, and I got stuck in between a father and a son who were going through their own, you know, relationship battle. And I got canned because, you know, they told me to take 2 weeks off because I got COVID in 2021, not even 2020. And then I come back and they took 2 weeks of vacation time off of me. And I was like, whoa, guys, you ain't taking my vacation time. You told me to take it off. This was in writing. And they're like, well, you're insubordinate. We're going to get rid of you. I'm like, what the hell? This is so like, hold up. I'm just trying to defend myself. I'd like to take a vacation later this year. I work hard. I make you all this money. All my projects have been successful. And I just get face planted by life. And I remember feeling powerless. I remember sitting on the couch and just like bawling my eyes out, questioning like, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? And then to sit there and go, dude, there was nothing wrong with you. This was the path. Like, this was okay, it's time for you to like start doing your own thing. We've been trying to tell you this since you went into like your first job and you were like, no, I don't want to work for other people. I want to build my own company someday. And then you sat there and like allowed life to break you down. We're throwing you the curveball that says, get the F back in the ring and start fighting, bro. And so that's mine. Yeah. My final statement of this episode is just, you could be doing everything right and then get just absolutely blasted.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that. Some of the biggest life change has been like the universe saying, all right, dude, you don't want to listen? Cool. Like, pop, smacked over the head, and like, okay, you got my attention now. I'm sorry. My fault. So it sucks it gets to that point sometimes. So not on too much more to ride on. I just think like, you know, on the wandering side too, it's all about perception. I think the best form of what we've just discussed, what it looks like to me, would be someone who's a wanderer, like someone who you don't need a true destination. You don't need a true end result. You have a pretty good idea of where you're going, but you don't have to hold too much weight to what that looks like. And then allowing yourself to just be the most authentic version of who you are possible. That's it. If you just do what you do, like do your thing, just go out there and be you as much as you can. Go dance like, you know,
dance like no one's watching.
Dance like no one's watching, like Zach does any opportunity he gets, or sit there and watch 6 soccer games from Argentina back to back, like I like to do, just because I think it's fun, or whatever Brandon does in his free time. You know, the last 3 months of freedom he has here, or whatever it is. But jokes aside, I do think like the biggest thing I would hone in on is like having that faith that the universe is going to push you in the right direction regardless. You got to listen, and as long as you're listening and your frequency is tuned to the radio station of you, then you're chilling. You're going to end up in the right place.
I like that.
The thing I like to do is collect shelving units. That's what I like to do. Not just kidding.
Doesn't
I mean, I'm
shock
not
me.
kidding, but
You like to collect them. He likes to build them. I throw everything in the corner.
I like that. My last remark is just, you know, as you look at the thumbnail, you know, if you stay on that path, stay authentic to yourself, like you say, then maybe when you don't deviate off the path, Bigfoot's not going to hit you with a stick right in the face, because that's what's going to happen. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what when I deviate. Even earlier this week, like I was like, okay, I'm going to pick this task because that's a future task and it's easier. And then you know what happened? I got more work to do. In doing that,
Yeah.
I just by luck stumbled upon more work. And I was like, if you would have ate the frog and picked the harder task that's more urgent, more of a priority, and a little bit more challenging, then you wouldn't have just got more work to do. Now that just got bumped further down the line. And I was like, shit, I knew it was the right thing to do. I chose an easier task that still needs done. Still doing the right thing, but it's like, you know what was like the path, but I deviated slightly to do something else. And I was like, okay, I can feel accomplished if I get this done. No, just you have a sense of what the right thing to do in that moment is. And after all the things you learn, try to stay on the path.
All right, y'all. This was episode 49, Wanderer. Am I lost, or was this always the path? So, as always, the squad says, don't trust us, trust yourself, because you got all the answers. You just got to unlock them. We're not going to be able to unlock them for you, but we're going to give you tidbits or titbits, which are, that's gonna happen now. But we're going to give you tidbits of what we've experienced for you to be able to take into your own life and maybe, not feel like you're the only person who's experiencing something. Because a lot of us sometimes feel like, am I the only one going through this bullshit? And no, it's not the case. We're all human and we're all dealing with craziness. So we say don't trust us, trust yourself, because we don't want you to take our word as Bible, but we do want to help you along on your path to becoming the best version of yourself as we continue to grow and become the best versions of ourselves. So we appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for tuning in and take care.
Thank you.
Later.
Thanks again for tuning in to episode 49, Wanderer. Am I lost, or was this always the path? Don't hesitate to catch the gang's next release, episode 50, Awareness. How do I notice the little things? Well, that's a funny buzzword, awareness. So how's the gang going to tackle this one? Let's give you 2 sneak peek questions out of the 6 for that episode outline. Do you think it's possible to live fully without being aware of it in the moment? Or does awareness have to be a part of the experience to make it real? Another one of those questions from that outline. Have you ever believed you were self-aware, only to look back and realize you were blind to something important? Or how do you keep yourself honest about it now? We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.